what if I told you there's a place where ancient temples share skylines with towering tech giants, where you can eat like royalty for the price of a coffee back home, and where the entire social fabric revolves around respect so intense that gifting someone a clock could end a friendship? Most people think Taiwan equals bubble tea and night markets, but that's barely scratching the surface of this fascinating island republic. Here's the thing about Taiwan. It exists in a constant state of beautiful contradiction. Modern Taipei feels more futuristic than Tokyo. Yet step into any neighborhood temple at 6 a.m. and you'll witness rituals unchanged for centuries. The island produces some of the world's most advanced computer chips, but locals still burn paper money for their ancestors. Young professionals work 12-hour days in glass towers, then spend their evenings learning traditional calligraphy from elderly masters who remember when Taiwan was under Japanese rule. Today, we're going beyond the tourist veneer to answer a question that keeps coming up in my inbox. Can you actually live in Taiwan on just $600 a month? But more importantly, what's daily life really about for the 23 million people who call this island home? We're going to explore the unspoken social rules, the dating culture that would surprise most Westerners, and the festivals where entire cities shut down because ghosts are supposedly roaming the streets. By the end of this exploration, you'll understand why Taiwan has quietly become one of Asia's most livable places, why tech workers from Silicon Valley are increasingly choosing Taipei over San Francisco, and whether your budget travel dreams can survive the reality of island living. Trust me, some of these cultural insights will completely change how you view East Asian society. The geographical reality of Taiwan sets the stage for everything else. This isn't just some tiny island. We're talking about a landmass roughly the size of Maryland and Delaware combined, but packed with more biodiversity than countries 10 times its size. The western coast faces mainland China across a strait that's become one of the world's most watched waterways, while the eastern coast drops dramatically into the Pacific Ocean through cliffs that make California's Big Sur look tame. Most visitors never leave the urban corridor that runs down the western coast: Taipei in the north, Taichung in the center, and Kaohsiung in the south. But here's what they're missing. Taiwan rises from sea level to nearly 4,000 meters at its highest peak, creating climate zones that range from tropical beaches to alpine forests within a few hours' drive. You can literally surf in the morning and need a winter jacket by evening if you know where to go. The geography shapes everything about how Taiwanese people live. The Western Plains, where most cities cluster, create this incredible population density. We're talking about areas more crowded than Manhattan, yet somehow functioning with an efficiency that puts most Western cities to shame. Meanwhile, the mountainous backbone of the island remains largely untouched, home to indigenous communities whose ancestors arrived thousands of years before any Chinese settlement. The central mountain range divides Taiwan into distinct regions with their own microclimates, dialects, and cultural characteristics. The northern region around Taipei stays cooler and wetter, influenced by monsoon patterns that create the misty, romantic atmosphere you see in Taiwanese films. The southern regions around Kaohsiung and Tainan bask in tropical warmth year-round, creating agricultural conditions perfect for rice cultivation and tropical fruits that most Americans have never tasted. The eastern coast, dominated by Taroko Gorge and the Rift Valley, represents Taiwan's wild side. Here, indigenous tribes like the Atayal, Truku, and Amis maintain traditional relationships with landscapes that seem almost primordial. Hot springs bubble up from volcanic activity, creating resort communities where Japanese bathing culture blends with indigenous spiritual practices and Chinese medicinal traditions. Understanding Taiwan's layered history explains why modern culture feels so uniquely complex. The indigenous peoples, and yes, they're still very much here, comprising about 2.3% of the population across 16 recognized tribes, had the island to themselves until the 1600s. Then came waves of Chinese migrants, followed by Dutch and Spanish colonizers, then more Chinese settlers, and eventually Japanese rule for 50 years until 1945. Each layer left its mark. Japanese influence shows up everywhere. In the obsession with quality and precision, the love of hot spring culture, and architectural details that tourists often mistake for purely Chinese design. Walk through any Taiwanese city, and you'll see Japanese-era buildings still functioning as schools, government offices, and cultural centers. The railway system still follows routes established during Japanese colonial period, and many older Taiwanese speak fluent Japanese as their second language. The Chinese influence varies dramatically depending on when people arrived. Families who came in the 1600s developed distinctly Taiwanese dialects and customs, while the massive influx after 1949 brought mainland Chinese culture that sometimes still feels separate from local traditions. These mainlander families, as they're sometimes called, brought different regional Chinese cuisines, dialects, and cultural practices that added yet another layer to Taiwan's cultural complexity. This historical layering creates social dynamics that outsiders rarely pick up on. You'll meet third-generation Taiwanese families who still consider themselves Chinese, and you'll meet people whose families have been here for 400 years who insist they're purely Taiwanese. It's not about genetics. It's about identity, politics, and how people choose to connect with different parts of the island's complex past. The result is a society where speaking Mandarin, Taiwanese Hokkien, Hakka, or indigenous languages can completely change how you're perceived in different social situations. Code switching between languages isn't just linguistic flexibility. It's social navigation that signals everything from your family background to your political views. A conversation might start in Mandarin, switch to Taiwanese for emotional emphasis, and include English phrases to signal international sophistication. Dutch colonial influence, though brief, left architectural and administrative legacies that still shape southern Taiwan. Tainan, Taiwan's ancient capital, preserves Dutch fortifications alongside Chinese temples and Japanese-era buildings, creating urban landscapes that tell stories about cultural adaptation and resilience. The Protestant missionary influence introduced educational and medical systems that competed with traditional Chinese approaches, creating pluralistic institutions that characterize modern Taiwan. What strikes most foreigners about daily Taiwanese life is how family-centered everything remains, even as the society modernizes rapidly. The morning temple visits aren't just religious routine, they're social infrastructure. Elderly residents gather at neighborhood temples by 5:30 a.m., not just to burn incense for their ancestors, but to share neighborhood news, discuss local politics, and maintain social connections that most Western communities lost decades ago. These temple gatherings function as informal community governance systems, where neighborhood issues get discussed and resolved through consensus rather than formal political processes. You'll see retired teachers offering homework help to struggling students, elderly residents organizing community gardens, and informal employment networks where people find jobs through personal recommendations rather than online applications. The education system reveals Taiwan's cultural priorities in ways that can shock Americans and Europeans. We're talking about students who regularly attend school from 7:30 a.m. until 5 p.m., then head directly to cram schools until 10 p.m. This isn't exceptional. It's normal for anyone hoping to succeed in Taiwan's hyper-competitive academic environment. Parents think nothing of spending 30 to 40% of household income on supplementary education, viewing it as essential investment rather than luxury spending. But here's what most foreigners miss. This intense education focus creates a generation that's incredibly well-informed about global affairs, speaks multiple languages, and approaches problems with analytical thinking that impresses international colleagues. The trade-off is young adults who often struggle with creative thinking and independent decision-making because they've spent their formative years focused on test performance rather than exploration. The cram school industry has evolved into a parallel education system that operates according to market principles rather than government regulations. Star teachers become celebrities with followings that rival entertainment personalities. The most successful cram school instructors earn more than university professors and develop teaching methods that emphasize efficiency and test-taking strategies over deep learning. The workplace culture reflects this educational background. Taiwanese professionals work longer hours than almost anyone in the developed world, but they also display loyalty and attention to detail that Western companies struggle to match. The concept of face, maintaining dignity and reputation in social situations, influences everything from how meetings are conducted to how criticism is delivered. Office hierarchies operate according to principles that blend Confucian respect for authority with modern management practices. Younger employees show deference to senior colleagues not just through formal politeness, but through subtle behaviors about seating arrangements, speaking order in meetings, and social interactions outside work. These aren't arbitrary traditions. They're social lubricants that allow high-density workplaces to function smoothly. Respect for elders isn't just cultural politeness in Taiwan, it's active social structure. Multi-generational households remain common, not just for economic reasons, but because caring for aging parents is considered fundamental family responsibility. This creates interesting dynamics in modern Taiwan, where young professionals earning Western-level salaries still seek parental approval for major life decisions well into their 30s. The elder care expectations create career pressures that Americans and Europeans rarely experience. Young adults must balance professional advancement with family obligations that might require relocating to care for aging parents, adjusting work schedules to accommodate medical appointments, and making financial decisions that prioritize family needs over individual goals. Let's talk about what Taiwanese people actually eat, because the reality extends far beyond night market snacks. The food culture here operates on multiple levels simultaneously. There's the street food that tourists love, the home cooking that families share, and the regional specialties that locals use to identify where someone grew up. Regional differences in Taiwan's cuisine tell stories about migration patterns, local ingredients, and cultural adaptation that most visitors never encounter. Northern Taiwan's food shows heavier mainland Chinese influence. Think beef noodle soup, dumplings, and wheat-based dishes that reflect the post-1949 migration from northern China. These dishes represent comfort food for mainlander families while becoming beloved by all Taiwanese regardless of their family background. Southern Taiwan's cuisine incorporates more seafood, uses more rice-based preparations, and includes flavors that connect back to earlier Chinese settlement patterns. The famous danzai noodles from Tainan represent this southern tradition, light broths with fresh seafood, served in portions designed for multiple small meals rather than single large servings. The oyster omelets and coffin bread that tourists encounter in night markets originated in southern Taiwan's fishing communities. But then there's indigenous cuisine, which most people don't even know exists. We're talking about preparations using wild vegetables, mountain boar, millet wine, and cooking techniques that predate Chinese influence by thousands of years. These are not museum pieces. Indigenous restaurants in Taipei draw food enthusiasts who understand they're experiencing something unavailable anywhere else in the world. Indigenous cooking methods include earth oven techniques for slow cooking meats, fermentation processes for preserving vegetables through mountain winters, and spice combinations using plants that grow only in Taiwan's high-altitude environments. The flavors challenge assumptions about Asian cuisine by incorporating bitter, sour, and umami combinations that don't exist in Chinese cooking traditions. The coffee culture deserves special mention because it represents Taiwan's ability to take international trends and create something distinctly local. Third-wave coffee shops in Taipei rival anything in Seattle or Melbourne, but they often incorporate local ingredients. Think coffee prepared with Taiwanese honey, served alongside traditional pastries, in spaces that blend Japanese minimalism with Chinese furniture aesthetics. Taiwan's coffee scene includes everything from traditional coffeehouse culture where elderly men gather to discuss politics over instant coffee, to specialty roasters who source beans directly from small farms and develop roasting profiles that highlight specific flavor characteristics. The island even produces its own coffee beans in mountainous regions, where indigenous farmers apply traditional agricultural knowledge to coffee cultivation. Night markets function as social institutions rather than just dining destinations. Yes, tourists flock to Shilin and Ryohi night markets, but locals have neighborhood markets that operate as community centers. These aren't just food venues. They're places where families gather, teenagers socialize, elderly residents maintain social connections, and vendors who've worked the same spots for decades serve as informal neighborhood information networks. Each night, market develops its own character based on the surrounding neighborhood demographics. Markets in university areas cater to student budgets and preferences. Markets in business districts offer quick meals for office workers heading home late. Markets in residential neighborhoods become extensions of family kitchens where people buy ingredients for home cooking, or grab prepared meals when cooking isn't convenient. The xiaolongbao situation alone could fill an entire conversation. Most people think soup dumplings are Chinese food, but Taiwan's xiaolongbao culture has evolved into something distinctly different. Din Tai Fung might be the international ambassador, but local shops throughout Taiwan serve variations that reflect regional preferences, family recipes, and innovations that would surprise visitors who think they know what soup dumplings should taste about. Regional xiaolongbao variations include different wrapper thicknesses, soup consistencies, filling combinations, and serving styles that create distinct eating experiences. Some shops specialize in giant xiaolongbao that require special eating techniques. Others focus on miniature versions designed for elegant dining. The diversity reflects Taiwan's approach to food culture, taking traditional forms and adapting them to local preferences and innovations. Here's where things get interesting for foreign men especially. Taiwanese dating culture operates according to rules that differ dramatically from both Western dating and mainland Chinese relationships. The education-focused upbringing creates women who are often highly accomplished professionally, but may have limited dating experience even in their late 20s. This isn't conservative religious influence. It's practical focus on academic and career achievement that delays romantic relationships. Dating apps exist and function, but they're supplemented by social structures that Americans and Europeans might find antiquated. Formal introductions through family friends, workplace connections, and university alumni networks remain common ways to meet potential partners. The concept of casual dating exists, but it coexists with expectations about relationship progression that can surprise foreigners used to more flexible arrangements. The dating timeline expectations differ significantly from Western norms. Taiwanese relationships often progress slowly through clearly defined stages. Introduction, casual meetings in group settings, individual dates with specific activities, meeting family members, and discussions about future plans. Rushing through these stages or skipping steps can create social awkwardness that damages relationship prospects. Taiwanese women's reputation for beauty reflects reality, but it's beauty achieved through different cultural standards than Western ideals. The skincare industry here rivals South Korea's in sophistication, with routines that involve 10 to 15 products applied in specific sequences. Sun protection is not just health consciousness, it's aesthetic preference for pale skin that connects to traditional Chinese beauty standards but gets reinforced through modern Japanese influence. Beauty standards emphasize facial features, skin condition, and overall presentation rather than body shape preferences that dominate Western beauty culture. The fashion industry reflects these priorities through clothing styles that prioritize elegance and sophistication over revealing or form-fitting approaches. Even summer fashion maintains modesty standards that reflect cultural values about appropriate public presentation. The gender dynamics in relationships reflect Taiwan's transitional status between traditional Chinese culture and modern international influences. women increasingly outperform men academically and professionally, creating relationship dynamics where traditional gender roles don't always apply. Yet family expectations about marriage timing, career sacrifices, and elder care responsibilities still heavily influence women's life choices. Professional women face particular pressures around marriage and motherhood timing that can conflict with career advancement opportunities. The societal expectations about women's primary responsibility for child care and elder care create difficult choices that men rarely face to the same degree. These pressures influence relationship decisions and career planning in ways that foreign partners might not initially understand. Nightlife varies dramatically depending on which social circles you enter. Expat-focused bars and clubs exist primarily in specific Taipei neighborhoods, but local nightlife culture revolves around different activities entirely. Karaoke remains hugely popular across age groups, but it's not the same as Japanese karaoke culture. Taiwanese KTV involves elaborate group dynamics, song selection that demonstrates cultural knowledge, and social bonding that can be crucial for both business and personal relationships. The karaoke experience reflects broader social dynamics about group harmony, individual expression within collective contexts, and cultural literacy that extends beyond entertainment. Song choices reveal generational identity, regional background, and cultural sophistication. The ability to sing popular songs from different eras demonstrates social awareness that translates into business and personal relationship success. The bar scene includes everything from craft beer pubs that would fit perfectly in Portland or Berlin to traditional drinking establishments where middle-aged men gather to discuss politics over Taiwan beer and heated discussions about baseball. Wine culture has exploded in recent years, with Taiwanese sommeliers gaining international recognition and local wine bars offering selections that rival major international cities. But here's what foreigners often miss. Much of social life happens in less obvious venues. Hot pot restaurants function as social gathering spaces where groups of friends or colleagues spend entire evenings sharing meals and conversation. Coffee shops stay open late and serve as informal meeting spaces where everything from business deals to romantic relationships develop over multiple visits. The hot spring culture provides another social venue that combines relaxation with community building. Public hot spring facilities operate according to social rules about appropriate behavior, conversation topics, and interaction patterns that create bonding experiences for both friends and strangers. Private hot spring resorts offer settings for business entertainment and special occasion celebrations. The traditional festival calendar shapes Taiwanese life in ways that catch foreigners off guard, especially during Ghost Month. For an entire lunar month, usually falling in August or early September, Taiwan's social behavior shifts dramatically based on beliefs about wandering spirits returning to Earth. This isn't quaint folklore. It's active cultural practice that influences everything from business meetings to wedding planning. During Ghost Month, you'll notice Taiwanese people avoiding certain activities. No swimming. Ghosts might pull you underwater. No hanging laundry at night. Spirits might inhabit clothing. No moving homes or starting new ventures. Bad timing for major life changes. And definitely no whistling after dark. It attracts unwanted spiritual attention. These aren't universal beliefs, but they're common enough that even non-religious Taiwanese often adjust their behavior out of social consideration or just in case. Caution. The business implications of Ghost Month create scheduling challenges that foreign companies operating in Taiwan must navigate. Major product launches, grand openings, and significant business announcements get postponed until after Ghost Month ends. Real estate transactions slow dramatically as people avoid moving during this period. Even modern, educated professionals often adjust their plans rather than risk potential spiritual complications. Lunar New Year celebrations reveal Taiwan's family-centered culture at its most intense. This isn't just a holiday. It's a 2-week period when the entire society reorganizes around family obligations. Businesses close, transportation systems strain under the weight of people traveling to family homes. And social pressure to participate in family gatherings can be overwhelming for anyone who does not fit traditional family structures. The Lunar New Year preparation involves elaborate cleaning rituals, specific food preparations, and gift-giving customs that reflect deep cultural values about family relationships, respect for ancestors, and hopes for future prosperity. Red envelope traditions involve complex calculations about appropriate monetary gifts based on family relationships, age hierarchies, and economic circumstances. The temple culture provides daily spiritual infrastructure that most Western societies lack. These aren't just weekend worship venues. They're community centers where people bring personal problems, business concerns, relationship questions, and health worries to seek guidance through traditional divination practices. You'll see tech executives burning incense alongside elderly shopkeepers, all hoping for favorable responses to questions about their futures. Buddhist and Taoist influences blend with folk religion practices in ways that create uniquely Taiwanese spiritual expression. The same person might visit a Buddhist temple for meditation, consult Taoist fortune-telling practices for business decisions, and participate in folk religion ceremonies for family protection. This isn't religious confusion. It's practical spirituality that draws from multiple traditions to address different life concerns. Temple festivals throughout the year bring entire neighborhoods together in celebrations that combine religious devotion, community bonding, and spectacular public performance. The scale can be overwhelming. Thousands of participants in elaborate processions, traditional music performances, food vendors, and ceremonial activities that last for days. These festivals maintain cultural traditions while adapting to modern urban life in ways that create uniquely Taiwanese experiences. The Mazu pilgrimage represents Taiwan's largest religious festival, involving millions of participants who follow a statue of the sea goddess across the island over several days. This isn't just religious observance. It's cultural celebration that brings together people from all social classes and backgrounds in shared spiritual and community experience. The logistics of feeding, housing, and organizing millions of pilgrims demonstrate Taiwan's capacity for large-scale social coordination. Now let's address the financial reality behind the $600 challenge. The truth about living in Taiwan on limited budget varies dramatically depending on where you choose to base yourself and what lifestyle compromises you're willing to accept. In Taipei, $600 monthly might cover basic survival, but it won't provide the comfortable lifestyle that many budget travel enthusiasts expect. Housing costs in Taipei can easily consume half of a $600 budget if you want private accommodation in convenient locations. Shared apartments or rooms in older buildings in less convenient neighborhoods might run $200 to $300 monthly, but you're likely looking at spaces that would be considered substandard by Western middle-class standards. The trade-off is location in one of Asia's most livable cities with world-class public transportation, healthcare, and cultural amenities. The housing market reflects Taiwan's rapid economic development and limited land availability. Older apartment buildings often lack elevators, air conditioning, and modern plumbing that foreigners consider essential. Space constraints mean that rooms advertised as suitable for foreigners might be smaller than what Americans or Europeans consider acceptable for long-term living. Food costs can work in your favor if you adapt to local eating patterns. Street food and traditional restaurants offer meals for 2 to 5 that provide better nutrition and variety than comparable budget food in most Western cities. The key is avoiding Western restaurants and imported foods, which carry premium pricing that quickly destroys budget calculations. Local markets provide fresh produce at prices that make home cooking economical, but cooking facilities in budget accommodations might be limited to single-burner hot plates or shared kitchen spaces. Traditional Taiwanese eating patterns emphasize multiple small meals rather than large portions, which can help stretch food budgets while providing variety and nutrition. Outside Taipei, $600 stretches much further. Cities about Taichung or Tainan offer significantly lower housing costs while maintaining good infrastructure and cultural amenities. Rural areas can be extremely affordable, but they require language skills and cultural adaptation that many foreigners underestimate. Living in smaller Taiwanese communities means participating in local social structures that operate according to traditional relationships and obligations. Second-tier cities offer compelling alternatives for budget-conscious foreigners. Taichung provides urban amenities at significantly lower costs than Taipei while maintaining excellent transportation connections to other parts of the island. Tainan offers rich cultural experiences in Taiwan's ancient capital, while providing housing costs that make comfortable living possible on modest budgets. Transportation costs throughout Taiwan remain remarkably reasonable. The island-wide rail system connects major cities efficiently and affordably. Local public transportation in cities about Taipei and Kaohsiung rivals the best systems globally, while costing a fraction of comparable transportation in Western cities. Scooter culture provides additional transportation options that many foreigners find both economical and practical for navigating Taiwan's dense urban environments. The transportation infrastructure creates lifestyle possibilities that reduce living costs in ways that aren't immediately obvious. The ability to live in less expensive areas while maintaining access to urban employment and cultural opportunities through excellent public transportation makes budget living more feasible than in most other developed countries. Healthcare access represents one of Taiwan's major advantages for budget-conscious foreigners. The National Health Insurance System provides world-class medical care at costs that seem impossible by American standards. Routine medical visits cost about $5.10, prescription medications are heavily subsidized, and even major medical procedures cost a fraction of comparable treatments in the United States. The healthcare system's efficiency reduces one of the major financial risks that budget travelers face in most international destinations. Knowing that serious illness or injury won't create financial catastrophe provides security that makes tight budget living more psychologically sustainable. Taiwan's transportation infrastructure deserves recognition as one of the world's most impressive achievements in public policy and engineering. The mass rapid transit system in Taipei operates with efficiency and cleanliness that puts most international systems to shame. Trains arrive within seconds of posted schedules. Stations remain spotless despite heavy usage, and the integration with other transportation modes creates seamless urban mobility. The high-speed rail connecting Taipei to Kaohsiung represents technological achievement that transforms island geography. What once required dangerous mountain driving or slow conventional rail now takes 90 minutes in trains that operate with Japanese precision and German engineering. This isn't just convenience. It's infrastructure that allows people to live in southern Taiwan while working in northern cities, fundamentally changing how Taiwanese think about career and lifestyle choices. Scooter culture provides transportation solutions that work specifically because of Taiwan's geography and climate. The dense urban environments and moderate year-round temperatures make scooter transportation practical for daily use in ways that would not work in more extreme climates. Scooter parking availability and traffic patterns designed around mixed vehicle types create urban mobility that's uniquely suited to Taiwan's needs. The scooter licensing and safety systems reflect Taiwan's approach to practical regulation that balances individual freedom with public safety concerns. Foreigners can obtain scooter licenses through straightforward processes that don't require extensive bureaucratic navigation. Insurance costs remain minimal while providing adequate protection for both operators and other road users. Convenience store culture intersects with transportation in ways that foreign visitors often don't appreciate. 7-Eleven and Family Mart locations aren't just retail. They're service hubs where you can pay bills, pick up online purchases, buy transportation tickets, and access services that require separate trips in most other countries. This integration reduces the friction of daily life in ways that contribute significantly to Taiwan's livability. The bicycle infrastructure, especially in cities about Taipei, provides additional transportation options that connect with public transit systems. U-bike sharing programs operate through technology integration that allows seamless transitions between different transportation modes throughout single trips. This isn't just environmental consciousness. It's practical urban planning that makes car ownership unnecessary for many residents. Beyond the urban centers and famous attractions lies Taiwan's natural beauty that most visitors never experience. The island's dramatic topography creates hiking opportunities that range from gentle coastal walks to serious mountain expeditions requiring technical skills and proper equipment. These aren't tourist attractions. They're wilderness areas where you can spend days without encountering other people. Taroko Gorge represents Taiwan's natural beauty at its most spectacular, but focusing only on the famous viewpoints misses the broader ecological story. The island hosts ecosystems that transition from tropical lowlands to alpine environments within relatively short distances. Endemic species found nowhere else on Earth reflect Taiwan's geological history as an island that emerged from oceanic depths relatively recently in geological terms. The national park system protects significant portions of Taiwan's natural heritage while providing access for outdoor recreation that appeals to both casual visitors and serious adventurers. Trail systems accommodate different skill levels and interests, from family-friendly nature walks to multi-day backpacking expeditions that challenge experienced hikers. The hot spring culture connects to Japanese influence while taking advantage of Taiwan's volcanic geography. Hot spring resorts throughout the island offer everything from luxury accommodations to public baths, where local families gather for weekend relaxation. This isn't just leisure activity. It's social tradition that maintains community connections while providing health benefits that Taiwanese people take seriously. Indigenous mountain communities offer cultural experiences that most tourists never encounter because they require language skills, cultural preparation, and respectful approaches that casual visitors rarely possess. These communities maintain languages, customs, and relationships with the natural environment that connect to thousands of years of sustainable living practices. Visiting requires understanding that you're entering communities with their own governance systems and cultural protocols. The coastal areas away from major cities provide fishing communities and agricultural regions where traditional lifestyles continue alongside modern development. These aren't theme parks or tourist attractions. They're working communities where people maintain livelihoods connected to the land and sea in ways that urban Taiwan has largely abandoned. Taiwan's reputation for safety reflects reality that extends beyond low crime statistics to include social systems that provide security nets for both residents and visitors. The healthcare system we mentioned earlier contributes to this sense of security, but so do cultural values that emphasize community responsibility and conflict avoidance. Street safety in Taiwan surpasses most international destinations, including other developed Asian countries. Women regularly walk alone at night without concern. Valuable items can be left unattended in public spaces, and violent crime remains rare enough to make national news when it occurs. This safety results from social structures rather than heavy policing. Community pressure and cultural shame effectively discourage antisocial behavior. The social mechanisms that maintain safety include neighborhood watch systems that operate through informal networks rather than formal organizations. Elderly residents who spend time in public spaces provide natural surveillance that deters criminal activity. Business owners maintain awareness of street conditions and intervene when problems develop. The healthcare system deserves deeper examination because it represents policy achievement that other countries study and attempt to replicate. Taiwan's national health insurance covers virtually all residents at costs that seem impossible by American standards. The system emphasizes preventive care and early intervention, while maintaining access to advanced treatments that rival medical systems anywhere in the world. Healthcare quality indicators consistently place Taiwan among the world's top-performing systems. Life expectancy, infant mortality, and disease treatment outcomes compare favorably with much more expensive systems. The efficiency results from integrated electronic health records, standardized treatment protocols, and cost controls that maintain quality while controlling expenses. Educational achievement reflects both cultural priorities and policy decisions that create human capital advantages for Taiwan's economic development. The CRAM school system we mentioned earlier produces students who consistently rank among the world's top performers in international assessments. However, this comes with social costs, including high suicide rates among students and young adults who struggle with the pressure to achieve academic success. The education system's emphasis on conformity and test performance creates citizens who excel at following rules and achieving measurable goals, but who sometimes struggle with creative thinking and independent decision-making. This educational background influences workplace culture, social relationships, and political behavior in ways that shape Taiwan's entire social character. Recent educational reforms attempt to address these concerns by incorporating creativity and critical thinking into curricula that previously emphasized memorization and test preparation. The results remain mixed as cultural expectations about educational achievement conflict with pedagogical approaches that prioritize exploration over performance. For foreigners considering longer-term residence, understanding visa requirements and work possibilities becomes crucial. Taiwan's new digital nomad visa program allows certain remote workers to remain in Taiwan for up to 6 months, but the requirements reflect government priorities about attracting specific types of foreign residents. The digital nomad visa requires proof of remote work arrangements, bank deposits demonstrating financial stability, and documentation of professional activities that won't compete with local employment markets. The application process involves multiple government agencies and can take several weeks to complete even when all requirements are met properly. Teaching English remains a common path for Western foreigners to obtain work permits, but the market has become increasingly competitive as Taiwan's English proficiency has improved and demand for native speaker teachers has evolved. Private tutoring, corporate training, and specialized language instruction offer alternatives to traditional classroom teaching. The Employment Gold Card program represents Taiwan's effort to attract international talent in specific industries, particularly technology, biotechnology, and other sectors, where Taiwan wants to maintain competitive advantages. This program offers work permits without requiring job offers, but the qualification requirements reflect high educational and professional achievement standards. Starting businesses in Taiwan requires navigating regulations that can be complex for foreigners, but the government has streamlined processes for certain types of international investment. The startup ecosystem in Taipei increasingly attracts international entrepreneurs, particularly in technology sectors where Taiwan's manufacturing capabilities provide advantages for hardware development. Understanding Taiwan requires recognizing contradictions that define modern life on the island. This is simultaneously one of Asia's most traditional societies and one of its most rapidly modernizing places. Ancient temples operate next to cryptocurrency exchanges. Families maintain ancestor worship practices while embracing international lifestyle trends. Traditional gender roles coexist with some of Asia's most progressive LGBTQ+ policies. The political situation adds another layer of complexity that influences daily life in ways that foreigners often underestimate. Taiwan's ambiguous international status affects everything from business relationships to cultural identity. People navigate these political realities through social relationships, career choices, and cultural expressions that outsiders rarely fully understand. Economic success has created lifestyle opportunities that rival developed countries worldwide, but income inequality and generational divides create social tensions that influence politics, family relationships, and individual life choices. Young Taiwanese adults face housing costs, career competition, and family obligations that create stress despite the island's overall prosperity. Technology adoption in Taiwan often surpasses international standards, creating daily life experiences that feel futuristic compared to many Western countries. Mobile payments, digital government services, and technology integration in retail and transportation provide convenience that becomes normal very quickly for residents. So, can you live in Taiwan on $600 monthly? The answer depends entirely on what you mean by live. Survival is possible if you're willing to accept housing conditions, dietary restrictions, and lifestyle limitations that most Western visitors would find challenging. Comfortable living requires significantly more resources, especially in Taipei and other major cities. The more interesting question is whether Taiwan offers lifestyle value that justifies the cultural adaptation and practical challenges of international relocation. For many foreigners, the answer is absolutely yes. The combination of safety, healthcare, cultural richness, natural beauty, and economic opportunity creates quality of life that's difficult to match elsewhere. Taiwan forces you to reconsider assumptions about development, tradition, and cultural identity. This isn't China, despite what many outsiders assume. It's not Japan, despite obvious historical influences. It's not a Western society with Asian characteristics. Taiwan is uniquely itself, a place where different cultural influences have blended into something distinctive and increasingly confident about its own identity. The island's future remains uncertain in ways that add both excitement and anxiety to daily life. Economic relationships with mainland China create opportunities and vulnerabilities. Demographic changes as the population ages create social challenges. Environmental pressures from climate change and development create sustainability questions. Yet, Taiwan continues adapting and thriving in ways that suggest resilience built through centuries of navigating complex circumstances. Whether you're considering a visit or contemplating longer residence, Taiwan rewards curiosity, cultural sensitivity, and willingness to look beyond surface impressions. The bubble tea and night markets that initially attract attention are just the beginning of understanding a society that's spent generations blending different cultural influences into something uniquely livable. The question isn't whether Taiwan will surprise you, it definitely will. The question is whether you're prepared to have your assumptions about development, tradition, and cultural identity challenged by a place that refuses to fit into simple categories. For travelers willing to engage seriously with cultural differences, Taiwan offers experiences that change how you think about everything from family relationships to urban planning to the relationship between tradition and progress. Comment below if you're ready to challenge your budget travel assumptions and cultural expectations. Taiwan is waiting, and it's nothing about what you expect.